Oh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Chris Segastro here, live from my house in Newport Beach. Got some special guests with me tonight. I'm
Yo,
gonna
yo,
introduce
holla
him,
at your
yeah, but
boy,
there
it's
he is.
Mike Prentice Kid.
We're actually performing tomorrow at New York Sports Bar. If you want to come out and check us out, the old circles. Probably nobody's gonna come, but it's all good. We'll have fun. Drink like we're 19 again. But we're gonna do these predictions right now. The first matchup that we're gonna look at is Nikki's Mets versus Musco. As you may or may not have heard, Nikki's Mets got in a car accident the other day. Thank God he's all right. The car was severely damaged. Just be careful out there, kid. Don't be hanging out with Pretty Boy till like 7 o'clock in the morning. Nikki's Mets. You're better than that, kid. Come on, Nikki's Mets. But anyway, going to the matchup. I think Romo, Gore, Forte, Jets, and Knicks are going to give Nikki's Mets the edge. And I like Musco with Turner, Austin, Davis, and there was some other guy that I liked on his team, but I can't really make out my handwriting right now, as sad as that is. Oh, and Jordy Nelson. This is a make or break week for both teams. Musco really needs to win. CBS has it at 82 for Mets, 73 for Musco. Musco has a lot of guys. He needs them to get healthy and quickly. If you can win this game, he'll be back in a winnable division, despite what Scott says. It's up for grabs still, in my opinion. Nikki's Mets has all the talent in the world. He just hasn't been able to put it together. He's scored a lot of points, but teams have blown up on him. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to give the edge to Nikki's Mets, unfortunately, for Musco. We'll see how it goes, how it'll play out. All right?
Yeah, Nicky Mets.
All right, next up we have DCS taking on the Seductive Ducks, two first-place teams. A lot of people didn't see either of the teams coming to be in first place where they're at now. The team with the first pick in the draft and the team that didn't have many picks at all, but made the most out of their picks. CBS has it at 86 to 78. Let's get to the matchup, and we'll break it down and see how it goes. Drew Brees versus Tampa Bay. Brees always posts solid numbers versus Cam Newton versus Atlanta. Same with Cam Newton. It's a wash. They're both great quarterbacks. Fred Jackson, probably the fantasy MVP this season, taking on the New York Giants, who hopefully will have Justin Tuck for fans of the Big Blue's sake, versus Ray Rice without a Mario Williams. Granis traded that to my brother, one of the most controversial trades in the draft. I also think this is an even matchup. Who knows, though? Peyton Hillis, coming off a bye week, coach says he's going to get him more involved. Javon versus San Francisco, one of the tougher rush Ds, although we had a pretty crazy game the other day. I'm going to give the edge here to Peyton Hillis. Next up, we have Megatron versus Roddy White. It don't matter. Megatron's beating anybody. Macklin versus Lance Moore. It's closer than you think, but Tampa Bay's D is not going to be able to take that underneath route. I'm going to go with Macklin here. Tony Gonzalez versus Jake Ballard. Ballard's become the middle of the reception guy for the Giants, but I like Gonzalez. Johnny Knox over Percy Harvin. Two useless guys. They both suck. Get them out of your lineup. Johnny Knox looks like an alien, no? Look at this grill. Looks like a little green E.T.
Droopy-eyed motherfucker.
John Casey versus Akers. I'm going to go with Casey here. Defense, are going to go with Lions, obviously, with the Titans who are on a bye. It's a close game. I'm going to go with my brother on this matchup. It's very close. I think the defense separates the two, even though CBS sees it the other way. Could be wrong. Been wrong in the past. Next up, we have Unloved Peach taking on Scott Island. Two teams that sputtered last week. It's an interesting matchup. Is
there any way both teams could lose?
It would be nice. It would be very nice, considering Matt Peach's hatred of the comments that I post, and the same with Scott. Maybe two teams that are jealous of people like me and you, who have such talented rosters, who always lose every week. We suck. All right, next up we have Stafford versus San Francisco taking on Michael Vick. Stafford's great, but I'm going to go with Mike Vick here. Steven Jackson coming off a bye versus Green Bay. They're going to be down the whole game. Don't really like him versus D'Angelo Williams, who I also don't like. Tim Hightower versus Stephen Ridley. Depends if BG's out or not. There's rumors that he might not play this week, and he was on the injury report this week. Hightower still might keep the job. I would go with Hightower. You run anyone against Philadelphia right now. Me and Granis could probably combine for 100 yards. Probably not, but it sounds good for the video.
Fair enough.
He has got big legs. It's genetics. Greg Jennings versus St. Louis. They're giving up like mid yards. Worst pass defense in the NFL. Got to go with Jennings. Steve Smith is great, though, so that's kind of a wash in itself. Maybe Jennings is better, I guess. Stevie Johnson versus Giants. You should kill him versus Mike Sims Walker. Sims Walker sucks, man. Get him out of your lineup, man. Owen Daniels going to pick up the slack for Andre Johnson. Benjamin Watson sucks. Pierre Garcon is killing it. Hayward Bay, I'm not really feeling. Orlando Mari is Matt Bryant is also outdoors. Baltimore Ravens D is going to feast on Houston Giants. He got Bills versus Giants. Overall, I like Matt Peach in this matchup to take it. All right, next up we have John Bungay and Mark. Both you guys say I don't give you enough love in the videos. I don't know what you want me to say.
He's a piece of shit, but Bungay's probably going to win.
CBS has it at 85-71. Bungay made some nice pickups this week. I'll give him props on that. There you go. There's your love. Ernest Graham playing over LeGarrette Blount probably for the next 2 weeks. Made the trade for Tolbert. He's on a bye this week. Solidifies his Ryan Matthews handcuff. And I got Santonio Holmes. We'll see how that plays out. BGE might not go this week. Like I said earlier, I alluded to that in the video. We'll see how that goes. If he can, Bungay will finally have his flex. Will really solidify his team. It looks pretty scary. His main competition is Peach in the Division, so let's see how the game works out for him and Mark. You got Brady versus Dallas. Doesn't matter. Brady's probably going to beat whoever you got. He got Matt Ryan. Kind of mediocre this season. I expect more out of Ryan. LaShawn McCoy versus Rashard Mendenhall. Mendenhall's been a little banged up. Might not even go. They might be just saying that to scare the Jaguars. For the game plan, like McCoy here. If Ben Jarvis plays, he's an okay option. I don't really know if he's worth a third-round pick. Sorry, that's just my honest opinion. Sproles is killing it right now. I like Sproles a little bit better. James Jones versus St. Louis. I said it before, St. Louis has given up a lot of yards. But Wes Walker is probably the second-best wide receiver in the NFL right now with Andre Johnson out. Victor Cruz has gotten lucky with a couple of tip balls going his way that he turned into big plays, taking on Plexico Burris. I think the Jets are going to open it up a little more this week. I'm going to go with Burris, surprisingly, probably to the viewers, all two of you. Jermichael Finley taking on Greg Olsen. I'm going to go with Finley here. Ernest Graham as a sneaky start, taking on Robert Meach. I'm going to go with Graham here. It's not going to do that great, but Ernest Graham gives you that one big game a year. Always. This could be his game. Crosby versus St. Louis versus Steven Gostkowski versus Dallas. Look for Crosby to get more extra points and field goals. Steelers versus Jacksonville is probably the best defense to start all week over 49ers. So overall, I'm going to give it to Bungay. All right, second game that we're going to go to.
I think the 49ers are a sleeper defense.
They are a sleeper defense, but to what I have to say about the 49ers is they haven't really played anyone yet. They played shitty teams. But the good thing for them is they really haven't played anyone in their division yet. Next up, we have my team taking on Fulcher. CBS projects it at 88-55. It's pretty crazy, but Fulcher really doesn't have his lineup set yet, so it's not as crazy as it may seem. Aaron Rodgers versus Schwab. Schwab hasn't faced a defense like the Ravens all year, where Rodgers is facing St. Louis. Going to go with Rodgers a lot. Jones-Drew versus Pittsburgh. They're not the same Pittsburgh defense that they used to be, but they are still pretty damn good as long as Palomalu's there. Peterson versus Chicago. Chicago's a good D. They got charged by best. I'd say Peterson's a little better, and he's owned them in the past. John Cook could get a sneaky touchdown, but I'm not really thinking that. The one problem with the Giants last week was why they didn't win, which knocked a lot of people out of their pools and gambling. I might be one of them. Is they didn't run the ball with Ahmad Bradshaw. I think they get back to that, and the Bears have a pretty shitty run defense. Deshaun Jackson is clearly the superior talent to Santonio Holmes this week. I think the Jets will open it up more, but I like Deshaun better. Deion Branch versus Dallas. He's inconsistent. Reggie Wayne is not that great of a start. My wide receivers are struggling. It seems like Curtis Painter gets his meth from Pierre Garcon. Dustin Keller probably will get a touchdown this week versus Jimmy Graham, but Jimmy Graham's too good. Right now, Fulcher has Eric Decker in as his flex. I'm sure he'll take him out. If not, if you watch the video, you'll probably take him out. Taking on Mark Ingram. Ingram has not been as good as I thought he was, but he keeps getting me at least that one touchdown each week. This team drives me nuts. The Saints, they keep giving Jed Collins the ball at the one. You're going to make me lose the few strands of hair that I have left. Neil Rackers versus Baltimore. Don't really like his chances there. Ryan Lindell versus the New York Giants. Throw out a funny stat for you. The Giants allow the most field goals out of any team in the NFL. Just saying. All right, Chicago Bears taking on Minnesota versus Bengals versus the Colts. Donovan McNabb is not that great, but I do like the Bengals a little bit better versus the Colts. Curtis Painter is a walking turnover. They have no running game. Joseph Adai is out. It's home. The Colts are a shitty team when they play on grass. overall, I really like my chances versus Fulcher this week. Fulcher's 4-1. I'm 3-2. No one really saw Fulcher coming, and I think he'll have more success as the season progresses, but I don't think that this is his week. And last but not least, I'm going to turn this over to my boy Granis. I'll give my prediction after that, and he'll give his projection of what's going on with this game. All right, let you see yourself right here. There you are. You see yourself. You're on.
Done my hair.
You look gorgeous. All right, you got CBS is projecting Jimmy's gonna win 81-73. They have Jimmy as the 3rd best coach rating, and you're at 5th best coach rating. We have Fitzpatrick versus the Giants versus Josh Freeman's been really disappointing versus the Saints. What do you think about that?
I think I'm gonna go with Fitzpatrick, not because he's my quarterback, but I don't like Freeman that much this season, and even though New Orleans isn't the greatest defense in the world, when it comes down to it, Fitz has done more than Josh, so I'm gonna go with my guy.
In Jimmy's favor, I would say they're probably going to lose for most of the game, so he'll be passing, especially without LeGarrette Blount. But they're not that great of a team. I think they're a little overrated. I got to give you props on picking up Fitzpatrick. He was definitely one of the best waiver wire pickups, considering your situation. Also, in the season, losing Peyton Manning. Sorry to bring up a sore subject, but, you know, Fitzpatrick was one of the best pickups of the year, so I'm going to give you the edge on that for the quarterback matchup. All right, next up, we have Cedric Benson taking on the Colts versus Sean Green versus the Miami Dolphins. What do you think?
Actually going to go against my guy and the prediction. I believe that Sean Green will do better against Miami. I think they're going to run the ball a lot against Miami, and I think that Sean Green's due for a big game. Cedric Benson, he's a consistent 5 points, which isn't very much, so I'm going to say that Sean Green's better than the wife beater on my team.
Yeah, Benson's headed to jail. I mean, I agree with you in the regards that hopefully as us for Jet fans, Sean Green does well, because the better he does, the better chance we have to win. Cedric Benson only has 1 touchdown this year. I expected a lot more production out of him. He's getting a lot of yards, but keep in mind, to your credit, I will say Sean Green is better this week, but keep in mind, some guy named Jackie Battle posted like 180 yards against the Colts last week, and it was at Colts Stadium on turf, so not the best rush defense in the world. All right, next up we have Arian Foster, who looks fully healthy, taking on Felix Jones.
I know they're playing Baltimore, but I'll just say that Arian Foster is a good running back, and Felix Jones is one of the most hyped up running backs who will probably wind up getting hurt because he's basically a, as you said before, walking turnover with Carpenter. He's a walking
injury.
I was gonna look for a better word, but I'll go with injury. He's a box.
All right. Him and Matt Peach have something in common. All right. Next up, we have Mike Wallace taking on Des Bryant. And my bad, the last one I would go Foster also. Even though they're playing a tough D, he is their offense right now. He's going to get as many touches as possible. Look for him to get about 30 touches. And the Cowboys are going to be losing most of that game to the Patriots, even though the Ryan brother, Rob, really shut them down last year with Cleveland. Unexpected. I don't think Dallas has the heart to do that. Romo's not that great. All right, next up we have Mike Wallace versus Jacksonville. Horrible secondary versus Des Bryant versus New England. Another horrible secondary. So, Mike, what do you think?
I'm going to have to say Mike Wallace. I like Des Bryant. I do. Mike Wallace has been very consistent, and in all truthfulness, I think Pittsburgh is going to beat up on Jacksonville and not let loose. And with Mendenhall possibly being hurt, they may throw more than run and just kind of go with aiming downfield against Jacksonville. So
Des Bryant will get his numbers, but I would have to give it to Mike Wallace. Des is still a little banged up. Maybe got healthy during the bye. But I paid a lot of attention to that Saints game last week versus Jacksonville. They had their way with them. And come on, the Saints defense shut down Blaine Gabbert. The Bengals D shut down Blaine Gabbert. They're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what I mean? Like, this is ridiculous. They're going to have their will. They're going to impose their will on Blaine Gabbert. I feel bad for the guy. So I'm going to give the edge to Mike Wallace there. Next up, we have one of the most...
He's on my team, brother.
Yes. One of the most disappointing players of the year that you have drafted. Sorry to bring that up again, but Mike Williams. This guy is on a milk carton right now. He's really disappearing this year, taking on Santana Moss, who's pretty solid each week, having about 75 yards, about 8 balls, no homo, catching versus Philadelphia. What do you think about that?
An interesting statistical fact is that Mike Williams had a 5-touchdown streak, a touchdown in 5 consecutive games, until the first game of this season, which indicated he would possibly be a good, viable, well-rounded receiver.
I agree.
But unfortunately for me and a lot of Mike Williams owners around this fantasy football nation of ours. He's played terrible. He hasn't gone to the end zone. They don't even look to him as much as they did. I read somewhere that Mike Williams said he's going to start playing good.
I read that also.
So,
You can take the call from him.
oh, it's Bose.
Call Bose back. No, I read the same thing about Mike Williams. It's funny to me. I mean, I had this guy on my team last year. He did great. I feel like the Tampa Bay offense is a little more conservative than it was last year. I think they should open it up a little more. Just throw a fade to Mike Williams in the end zone. I mean, he's going to get a lot of catches because they're going to be down the whole game. The Saints obviously know that. But Mike Williams got to step it up, man. This is getting to be a little ridiculous.
He's not even worth starting as a flex as of right now. And
it's disgusting, really, because the guy's got talent. I don't understand. He had a lot of drop passes, too. So, anyway, I think that Santana Moss is superior so far this year, but I think this could be Mike Williams' breakout game. He was quoted saying, "I played horrible this year. This is the week that I break out." And the reason why I'm going to give it to Mike Williams is you have Santana Moss, probably clearly the only weapon in the receiving game besides Fred Davis. I'm not really concerned with Jabbar Gaffney or Anthony Armstrong taking on that Philadelphia secondary. One good thing Philadelphia has is a secondary. People don't pass on them, they run on them, and that's how they win due to their crappy linebackers. All right, next up we have the flex, another astute pickup that Mike got. Jermaine Gresham taking on the Colts versus Rob Gronkowski taking on Dallas.
I believe this is the tight end matchup. But
Oh, my bad, excuse me.
it's all right. But when it comes down to it, I have to say Gronkowski. I mean, he's just a better player as of right now. I like Gresham. I thought that was a decent pickup for me because he has done better than people realize. He's flying a little under the radar, you know what I mean? But he's not a true tiger like the Bengal emblem, you know what I'm saying? Like
he didn't go to jail yet, so he didn't earn his Bengal stripes, right?
Right now, yes. Every, sex offender, wife beater, anyone that has done prison time has to go through Cincinnati.
Exactly.
And until he starts learning how to use his fist, not to catch footballs, but beat women, he won't be a valuable part of the Cincinnati offense.
Yeah, I'm not even going to really break this down. Gronkowski is obviously the better play. You know that, I know that. But Gronkowski, he was sick last week. I wish he would have said something. I wouldn't have started in my other league. Scumbag. All right, flex, David Nelson versus the Giants. He's going to move out of the slot to the second outside receiver, taking on Darren McFadden. Probably one of the best players in the league, taking on Cleveland. What do you think about that?
Well, obviously, the better start is Darren McFadden, and I wish that people just put in order their players, because this whole time I'm thinking, you know what, I'm liking my players, I'm liking how this is going, and then I look at the flex, where I put David Nelson as my flex, because I thought he would be
That's normally what people would do.
But
Jimmy does his own thing, though.
He, flexing McFadden, huh? Okay, well, as far as this is concerned, I think this is a big difference. If David Nelson even gets a touchdown, I think McFadden's going to destroy Cleveland. They project 15. I think there's a possibility he could even get 18. I think he's going to have a gigantic week. And there goes it.
All right. Now, on to kickers. Probably the guy put up 20 points last week. The best kicker in the NFL right now, Sebastian Janikowski.
Never heard of him.
He's a drunk Polish guy. Look him up.
Fair enough.
Yeah. He probably should belong on your team.
He actually looks like a neo-Nazi in the picture, so that's fair enough to say. But Jason Hansen is equally as bald with age. But you know what?
He's been on the Lions for 20 years. Was in the same draft class as Barry Sanders, and he's still playing in the NFL. That's crazy. I feel bad for the guy. He's been on the Lions for 20 years. You know how many crappy teams he's been on?
Although
unbelievable.
Oakland is playing Cleveland, I think there's going to be a lot of extra points in that game, which means there's not going to be as many field goals. Although Janikowski can knock him down from far away, I don't know if they're going to even have to take him from that far away. I think it's going to be a high-octane offense for Oakland. They're going to run the ball up and down. As far as Jason Hansen, Detroit versus San Francisco, I think the upset of the week, I think San Francisco is going to win the game, by the way.
I agree. I took them also.
And I actually believe that there's going to be a lot of field goals. I expect a big week out of Hansen. I think they'll both do all right, but, I mean, as far as it's concerned, I think it's pretty evenly matched. I'll go with Hansen, though. Even though CBS is doubting my boy, I'm going to go with Hansen. And as far as kickers,
you know what the best part about that was?
What?
We just spent about 3 minutes of our lives debating which fantasy kicker was better. Sorry about that. You
3
won't get
minutes
those
well
3 minutes
spent.
back. All right, last but not least, we're going to go with the defensive matchups. We have the Raiders taking on Cleveland, one of the most surprising defenses in the NFL. Not really great in fantasy, but doing their thing. And the Giants taking on Buffalo. We'll see. How do you like that, Mike?
Believe it or not, I'm going to go with the Giants. I think that Fitz throws a few picks. I think that there's going to be a lot of offense in the Oakland versus Cleveland game. I think there's just going to be a lot of total yards. And I'm just going to have to say that the Giants, they're going to rush Fitzpatrick and maybe cause a few turnovers. And I don't know. I have a good feeling for the Giants this week against Buffalo, even though I think Buffalo's the real deal.
Okay, so that pretty much concludes the prediction aspect of this segment. Overall, I think, who do you think is going to win, yourself or Jimmy? What do you think?
I think that Jimmy's going to win just on the fact that McFadden was his flex, and it's against David Nelson. As far as the rest of it, I had the slight edge. He's got such a big edge with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with Jimmy, but I think it's going to be closer than CBS says. I think
I was going to say that
by
too.
2 points.
I would say that too. I think it's going to be a little closer.
2 points.
I'll say that this video is better than last week's, number one, because Grandis actually showed up. He didn't fall asleep on a train drunk like Matt Peach, who was dressed in drag clothing and then lost his clothing. He was stripped naked because he got beat up by a bunch of Mexicans who robbed him.
Is that true?
No, it's not true. I just made that.
Sounded real.
All right, you and Jimmy have two similar teams in the regard that you're both not as good as what I thought you were going to be so far. Does it mean that you're not going to be? You're both in last place. You've been more injury-riddled. He's been more failure to produce. So we'll see who wins. I mean, you guys are still in it. The first place team's 4-1. You guys are only 1-4. So if you guys win, one of you is going to be 2-4. You're only one game in back. You know what I mean? And as far as people losing doubt in the Jets, because we're both Jets fans, I just wanted to say Ryan Fitzpatrick is good. He's on your team. But remember what happened the last year. When the warm weather goes away, gets to Buffalo, they can't be doing this passing stuff. They got to start running more with Fred Jackson. Now, I know he's had an MVP year, but he's going to wear it down eventually. The Bills lose this week to the Giants. The Jets beat the Dolphins. We still play the Bills 2 more times. Don't count the Jets out yet. I may bite my words. I'm going to the game this Monday. Maybe we lose. But who knows? I doubt it. I got faith in my team. I think they're turning around. Otherwise, we're in major crisis mode.
Game of the week is Horn Dick versus Grandass.
Yeah, so I guess I was being too serious. You had to lighten that up a little bit. All right, so that pretty much concludes it. Is there anything that you got to say, Mike? You got anything to say about the
I
video?
just want to say that I really want to buy a new 2012 Passat because the website is just shoving them down our fucking throat.
That's old. Come to our show tomorrow. It's going to be a good time. I'll buy you a drink if you come, I promise. Maybe not. Maybe it's cheap. Maybe like a shot if it's like $1. There's going to be a lot of 18-year-old girls there if you're into that. Pretty boy. I'll probably make an appearance.
You could actually see someone get punched in the face, real life.
Yes.
My promise.
That's true. And it will be Pretty Boy.
Oh, yes, of course.
He, as Scott said, extended his amateur record to 0-13 when he took on Juice recently. And he got knocked out 3 times. In Punch-Out, when you get knocked out 3 times, you can't get up.
The funny thing is, Juice actually straightened his nose out a little.
That's true. That's true. I could tell. Yep. All right, now we're just wasting air. All right, enjoy your Thursday evening. Don't get drunk, Nikki's Mets. John, keep making trades for 3rd-round picks of players that get sprained MCLs. And then just tell me, no, that's what happened with Tom Brady last year. Peach, keep getting drunk on trains and losing your clothes. Binder, don't make trades with me that are fair and offer me Johnny Knox for, like, Adrian Peterson. Musco, keep losing so I can make a trade with you. Scott, stay in last place and keep telling me that your division's the best in the league.
I'm offering a hand job every day for 2 weeks straight for a 1st-round pick. So,
alright, good trade. Mike, you better not lose this week. Mark, I like your team. I just think that bye weeks hopefully don't hurt you. And Jimmy, good luck. And with that, I'm just goofing around, guys. I'm really not that serious. This video is 24 minutes long. Nobody's going to watch this. Fulcher, I didn't say anything about your team. I play you this week. Best of luck. Hopefully I win. Peace.